this is unique, where it's literally like we all kind of have that, no matter if we're the playwright, actor, director, like triple threads, everybody doing different things, getting to speak out and say things. Honestly, I loved it.
Get our stories told. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I think it's so important, really important right now.
Hi, I'm Karina.
And I'm Sabina, and welcome to the Calling Up Justice podcast. Calling Up Justice is a transmedia social justice practice, producing performances of justice online, on stage, and in real life. We are collaborative, anti-racist, anti-capitalist, non-hierarchical, and developing new, accessible, and decolonized practices for cultural productions and intentionally prioritizing contributions of marginalized peoples.
In this podcast, we seek to uplift BIPOC artists, bringing into light difficult conversations and empowering our listeners to dismantle oppressive systems. Each episode will be one play from the 28 Hours Plays collection, following a talkback with the artists involved, including the directors, actors, and activists, along with the playwright. You can learn more at every28hoursplays.org.
Together, we created a beautiful experiment, hoping and striving to empower everyone in the room to contribute to the collaborative directing process. We started with a rehearsal process with actors who had never met each other and invited all participants in the room to contribute to directing via the chat or out loud. Then, we performed our piece and finally discuss the process, implications, and meanings of the work. In this podcast, you will hear the final performance and snippets of our discussion.
This week, we learn how Zoom theater really shapes the directions on intimacy with actors who are not in the physical space together, how having the playwright in the room can influence a production in a positive manner, and how collaborative directing liberates all to express themselves in a production that is created in a short amount of time.
Today we have with us playwright Gisla Stringer, director Karina Ithier, facilitator Sabina Unni, and actors Ganopy Urena, Zaria Bunn, Maia Mills-Lowe, Jess Elaine, and Oleander Furman.
And participants Marcela Olivas, Rebecca Jackson, Brigette Demelo, Claudia Alec, and Kaylee Grau.
Train of Dreams by Gisla Stringer.
And I was telling you that I didn't even know that before.
I had to go and then come all the way back here, and I just cannot do this. I can't keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it.
I might do it tomorrow. I might
be a naval officer. I ain't never seen no black Navy officer.
Annapolis Naval Academy.
Well, you seen me and my auntie one too.
Next stop, Hollywood.
Hey, I'm a star.
That's right, girl. Go tell our stories.
Don't nobody care what our black asses have to say.
They heard Oprah, they'll hear me too. Don't watch me, watch TV.
They got to pay for this.
Next stop, Rutgers University.
Yes, you already know. Where are you getting off at?
I don't know where I'm getting off
Next
at.
stop, sky's the limit.
But anything's possible.
And the other thing that I have to tell you about is when people just was actually going up there. I'm like, no. Well, I think I do that.
This came from a direct experience in Ferguson, and why I wrote this particular piece this way. You know, it's based on 4 girls from their senior year in high school and their escape route from their current condition. And the one girl doubting it, she's the one because her background is like she has no out. Her family, she's the one that's distraught. So she's just like, that's bull. Nobody does that because she has nobody else encouraging her. What the other girls do, they have someone.
Storytelling on Zoom, I think there are just so many different aspects of vulnerability that are showing up. For example, we have 13 folks on this call, none of whom we've really met in a physical space, but yet we're brought into our homes. And I can see posters, I can see different backgrounds, I can see the intricacies of your intimate life that you might not bring into a physical rehearsal space. And I think that kind of impacts the energy that we generated at the start of the call, which might have been some awkwardness, some slight tension. But through diving into the text, having direction and that collaborative process from audience members, from Gisla, having Gisla here was huge, because you don't often have the playwright in the space alongside the director and audience to contribute to the narrative. So I think it's really impressive that we found ways to create and forge community in lieu of showing up in different vulnerable aspects that we don't typically do with physical theater. So that was pretty dope.
It's exciting to be in the rehearsal process to hear, because I know what I was thinking when I wrote it, but then to see how the characters and how everybody comes to, as actors, they bring their own stories to their story. And it's, it was fun. It's fun to watch it, and it's also hard because I direct and I act. So, I have to remember which hat I have on right now. As for other things that I've written that have been produced, I'm usually in. So I have another, I'm always working with a director, and then, again, rehearsals, I'm the actor, and then I have to go behind the scenes as a playwright. So I actually like watching it from the outside.
My name is Maia, she, her. I'm playing Girl 3, and it felt really good. I thought it was a really beautiful play, beautiful text, and I thought everyone just read beautifully, and it was good. It was wonderful.
I played Girl 1, and it was, a bit of an adjustment getting used to Zoom theater, of course, but it was a really nice read, and it was I liked the collaborative process of this show.
Yeah, jumping off of that, my name is Zaria, and I play Girl 2, and what I really loved is the energy that we all have really brought to this play and to the reading, and just how we've all taken the time to connect with our characters and what we want to come out of the theater that we are producing, even through a podcast and through Zoom theater screens.
Replicating the energy that we would normally have in a physical space via Zoom has been very interesting. To be in this room with a couple of folks over the course of an hour and a half to put together a very rich piece in a virtual space is really exciting. And I think just having a narrative that centers young Black women as they forge their own paths is especially important right now in terms of visibility and just continuing to tell compelling stories. So.
Well, actually, earlier I got up and I just started doing stretches because I just enjoy it. I started stretching my neck. I thought okay, if we were all together in a room, we would have done a really nice warm up. So I wanted to just get in the headspace just as an observer.
What really helped is this collaborative space between everybody talking and stacking. It made me more confident. I really connected with the ensemble, and you guys coming up. I think that's the power in the Zoom, which is often the hard part, is creating an ensemble with strangers that you don't know, right?
I wasn't always sure when, as an audience member or a discussion participant, to jump in, or how long it's appropriate for me to talk for, or what. But I think in the end, it really does make a difference to have people who are audience members in the space. It was very rewarding to, in just a short amount of time, kind of see the piece really come to life and get all that energy and to start to hear the musicality of the writing. So yeah, it was really cool.
Oh, I really agree with you on that. Because it is different when we're first starting out, and the energy was a lot lower when we first began, and it was really cool to see that growth and how people felt more relaxed and more open to have a good time and express.
I'm wondering, as an actor, Can you be vulnerable over Zoom? Is it harder to be vulnerable over Zoom? What are like the barriers there? And I guess more broadly, what does it mean to take a trauma-informed approach to taking art, to creating art? And like, is that different when you're doing it in a different physical space than the people you're creating art with?
I think that with the Zoom, it's harder to become more open and more intimate, but I think it is absolutely possible. Perhaps you need more warm-up to really, because, when you're with a person, and when you're in person, rather, when you're getting that energy off another human being, then you do feel, you feel more relaxed and more open.
It is more difficult to be vulnerable and act vulnerably over Zoom, just because I'm usually like a very like physical actor, so using your whole entire body, and that's very hard when you're confined to a tiny square.
I think for me as an actor, one of the things that I consistently work on is using my body on stage. So being able to be like, I don't want to say forced into it, but like kind of pushed into a space where my voice is all that people hear. It's given me a lot more freedom to be more open with how I'm using my voice and not having to worry about my body or my face, which is definitely more opening for me and allowed me to be more vulnerable. But it's still a really cool and interesting light into how the power of my voice can be used as opposed to just my body.
There's a lot that you just kind of have to muster up through your limbs and just hope that it radiates through your voice in a way that might be a little different. So to have that challenge and wrestle with it with such a short piece was exciting.
I guess on the idea of like having the playwright in the room, I'm curious to the playwright, some of your thoughts, particularly, would you have written this play differently if you had written it now? And if you had the opportunity to expand this story, whether to make it longer, would you? And if so, how?
Let's see. If I had to write it in present time, would I still do? Yeah, because I think it's timeless. It hasn't, from my perspective, it hasn't changed. And again, it was, this is one of the hardest. This is a hard piece to write because it's only a minute, and but it was really based on my experience and experiences and things in Ferguson. And what was the other question? If I expanded it, would I expand it? I actually would. I thought about that before in doing so, and I just haven't explored it yet. Especially with girl number, I think it's girl number, the last girl to get off, I think number 3, girl 3, the one that, and she's just like, anything's possible. And I would love to see like her journey from not believing to believing and the circumstances that influence her in that, and how true to life, I think most of us make our decisions and things in life based on how we're influenced by our environment, our family, our friends, etc.
I actually really enjoyed watching the whole process build. You're watching it, right? As you mentioned, and then seeing the final production. And then I didn't expect to be surprised, but I really enjoyed the conductor so much. Like there's this instant, oh, Annapolis. I was just like, oh, where'd this come from?
I just want to say thank you to everybody. And I'm glad you guys are saying what you said about the conductor, because honestly, when I wrote this, she was not, like, I didn't even think about the conductor. It was just a kind of throwaway character. But what you brought to that, I'm like, oh, she's so important. This, is like a bigger metaphor that never even occurred to me.
Thank you for joining the Every 28 Hours podcast. Your support really means a lot, and we hope we'll see you again next time.